The void that makes us uncomfortable. 5 levels of depth on silence and solitude. Hello, mind explorers. Today we dive into something most have felt but few have truly understood. The silence that churns your stomach. The solitude that tightens your chest. Beyond a mere sensation, it's a window into our psyche, our evolution, and the deepest meaning of being human. It's a topic that deserves a forensic analysis. Prepare for a descent into 5 levels of depth. In the end, what today is a simple void will be a universe of understanding. To begin our level 1, the foundation, most of us have felt that twinge of discomfort when, suddenly, ambient noise disappears and only you and your thoughts remain. It's that familiar annoyance when traffic stops or music turns off. This discomfort manifests in our daily behavior. When we are alone and in silence, we tend to seek distractions almost immediately. The phone, music, television. It's an automatic reflex to fill that void. From time immemorial, total silence in nature used to be a sign of imminent danger, a predator lurking, the absence of the tribe. Our primitive brain associates it with vulnerability and the need to be alert. That's why forced solitude, without external stimuli, directly confronts us with ourselves and the internal workings of our mind. But why do we take it for granted that this confrontation must be uncomfortable or even aversive? These are the foundations, the tip of the iceberg of our perception. What we feel is real and recognized by almost everyone, but we are barely scratching the surface of why we feel it this way and what it truly means. But to understand the why behind these obvious facts, we must look beneath the surface, delving into level 2. Upon starting level 2, we discover the first mechanism. When the brain doesn't receive constant external stimuli, it activates the default mode network, DMN. It's like a car in neutral that, instead of moving forward, starts checking its own engine, leading us to introspection, planning, or often, to rumination of thoughts. At a sociological level, we live in a hyper-connected society that values constant action, communication, and being busy. Silence is perceived as inactivity, even as a social flaw. The invisible rule is be productive and connected, making silence seem like a failure. Here enters a universal cognitive bias, loss aversion. We value what we can lose, connection, distraction, more than what we can gain, introspection, calm. Silence is perceived as a loss of stimuli, amplifying discomfort. Historically, ostracism or exile, which involved deep isolation and silence, were severe punishments, almost a social death. Being alone meant the loss of protection and resources. This left a deep imprint on our aversion to extreme solitude and the silence that accompanies it. Noise and company allow us a constant escape from our own anxieties and potentially painful introspection. Silence removes that escape valve, forcing us to confront what we avoid and, in a way, resolving the need for escape. Dopamine plays a crucial role. Our brain has become accustomed to a constant avalanche of dopamine from social media, entertainment, and notifications. Silence is a dopaminergic blackout that leaves us in a kind of withdrawal, reinterpreting the simple boredom of level 1 as a threat or deep discomfort. Understanding these hidden gears, from neurology to sociology, allows us to see that our discomfort is not random, but the result of deep, complex, and largely unconscious processes that shape us as human beings. But reality is never that orderly. This is where the story gets complicated and we enter level 3. The first major controversy: is solitude inherently negative, or is it a social construct? Some argue it's essential for creativity and self-reflection, while others see it as a symptom of social disconnection and a risk to mental health, without a clear consensus. Let's debunk a popular myth. If you enjoy solitude, something is wrong with you. False. The ability to be comfortable with yourself is a sign of emotional maturity and self-knowledge. This myth is popular because, in a culture that extols the social, self-sufficiency can be misinterpreted as isolation or rejection of others, which psychologically makes us feel more normal by avoiding it. Here lies a profound paradox. To feel truly connected to others, we sometimes need to withdraw and reconnect with ourselves in silence. If we cannot be alone, do we truly choose company, or do we desperately need it out of fear of the void? It's a philosophical dilemma about the authenticity of our relationships. A critical objection is that the glorification of productivity and always being busy has relegated silence and introspection to the background, almost as lost or useless time. Is it not ethically problematic that our society pushes us to avoid the deep self-knowledge that often arises from silence? The view of solitude has fluctuated drastically throughout history. In the Middle Ages, it was valued for monastic contemplation and encountering the divine. In the Enlightenment, for the solitary genius and reason. Today, it is often synonymous with being alone and depressed. This evolution reveals more about the cultural anxieties of each era than about solitude itself. The topic directly connects us with a fundamental unsolved problem of the human condition: how to find a healthy balance between our innate need for social connection and the equally deep need for introspection and self-knowledge, which often arises in silence and solitude. It is a universal dilemma that each individual must navigate. It's clear that silence and solitude are not monolithic. They are battlegrounds for philosophical, cultural, and psychological debates, full of nuances, paradoxes, and difficult questions that have no single simple answer. Now, it's time to see the details that separate the curious from the true connoisseurs. Welcome to Level 4. Beyond the default mode network, neuroscience research has identified the anterior insula as a key area in the integration of bodily and emotional awareness. Its activity increases not only in rumination, but also in states of deep introspection or conscious solitude, a fact that goes beyond popular culture. The technical concept of controlled sensory deprivation, such as anechoic chambers or flotation tanks, demonstrates that in the total absence of stimuli, the brain does not shut down. Instead, it can generate hallucinations or altered states of consciousness. It's as if the radio of your mind, not receiving external signals, starts emitting its own waves with greater intensity. Although not widely known by the general public, the work of psychologist Carl Jung and his concept of individuation emphasize solitude as a necessary and often painful path to integrate the psyche and achieve wholeness of the self. His vision is crucial and radically different from mainstream psychology. A less conventional secondary theory is the attention maintenance hypothesis. It postulates that discomfort with silence is not an aversion to solitude per se, but a lack of ability to direct and maintain attention internally, leading to boredom and mental dispersion. It's a skill-centric perspective, not an emotion-centric one. A counterintuitive lab detail. Studies with experienced meditators have shown that, during prolonged periods of silence and isolation, gray matter density in certain brain regions increases and neural connectivity strengthens, suggesting that the brain reorganizes itself to operate more efficiently or creatively, contrary to the idea that it atrophies in solitude. This increase in connectivity, especially in areas related to empathy and self-awareness, like the insula mentioned earlier, could explain why many historical figures, from mystics to scientists, deliberately sought silence and isolation. Not to escape, but to find a deeper clarity and connection with the world and themselves, giving a new meaning to the evolutionary danger of Part 5, which can transform into opportunity. Seeing these details, which the untrained eye ignores, not only gives us a more authentic view of what silence and solitude are, but transforms the simple, "I don't like silence" into a complex dance of neural networks, forgotten histories, and unexplored human capabilities. And what lies beyond what we know, at the very frontier of knowledge? Let's enter the last and most dizzying frontier, Level 5. If our society continues on the path of digital hyperconnectivity and virtual reality, it's plausible that real silence and solitude will become an endangered species, or a luxury for a few, or perhaps a new normal imposed by the need for extreme disconnection. A fundamental question that science and philosophy still cannot answer: is consciousness itself a form of intrinsic solitude, a personal empty space that can never be fully shared, even in the most intimate company? Or is solitude merely an illusion arising from our inability to perceive the fundamental interconnectedness of everything? Here, the philosophical implication becomes dizzying. If reality is, ultimately, a construct of our mind, and if silence is the backdrop against which that construct is projected, then our discomfort with silence could be the fundamental discomfort with the nakedness of our own conscious existence, without the distractions that dress it. Perhaps the ability to integrate silence and solitude as essential parts of our experience, not as something to avoid but to embrace, is crucial for the evolution of humanity's collective consciousness. A society that fears the silence of introspection might be destined to repeat the same mistakes, incapable of the true reflection and change that would propel us towards a universal potential. And if the universe itself is mostly empty space and profound silence, then our aversion to that void within us could be a cosmic echo of our own resistance to the vast, silent, and incomprehensible infinity of existence, a fear of nothingness that, ironically, contains everything. We have journeyed through the depths. The descent has ended. It's time to gain perspective and see the full picture of what we have discovered. We began believing that silence was just an annoyance that made us reach for our phone, a simple, uncomfortable void, part 3. But now we understand that this discomfort is a complex intertwining of evolution, neurology, sociology, and cognitive biases, resting upon philosophical paradoxes explored by forgotten pioneers, and that perhaps this aversion to the void is a cosmic echo of the incomprehensible vastness of infinity itself, part 37. From a simple discomfort, we have unveiled a mirror to the human soul and the cosmos. Now tell me, which part of this journey changed your perspective on silence and solitude the most? Was there anything that made you say, aha? Share it in the comments. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. If you dare to explore beyond the surface with us, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. See you on the next ascent.